Halloween has always been my favorite holiday. I'm not sure if it's because of the leaves changing colors or maybe it's just the weather cooling down, but there's something about it that just makes my heart happy. And if you're anything like me, you've probably grew up carving pumpkins around this time of year to decorate your home. But I recently started asking myself, why? Why do we carve out the insides of this beautiful fruit, cut grotesques into them, and then leave them to rot on our porches for the squirrels? Well, as metal as that is nothing as close to how hardcore the story behind them are. So strap in, because I need to tell you a story about Irish swamps, angels and demons, and a drunk guy named Jack. Really quickly, just like and subscribe. Thanks. Hundreds of years ago, in the Irish countryside, lived a man named Jack. Sometimes he's called Stingy Jack, sometimes he's called Flaky Jack, Jack the Smith, Pumpkin Jack, or my favorite, Drunk Jack. That one encapsulates perfectly his character. Because not only was he a drunkard, but he was also just a huge jerk, known all over the land for just being the worst guy ever. Nowadays, we'd probably call him a toxic, gaslighting addict. I love my generation. In fact, he was so irredeemably evil that the devil himself got jealous of him. Do you know how much of a scumbag you need to be for the devil himself to envy you? So Satan goes out to find Jack to see if the stories are true and if he actually lives up to his reputation. Teleport to Jack's hometown, where he's obviously drunk, stumbling home at night from the pub. On his way to whatever shack he lives in, he comes upon this corpse in a ditch. It's dark, so he approaches to get a better look, when all of a sudden the corpse bursts up with a grimace on his face, and it turns out it's the devil that's been waiting for him. Jack has met his maker. But always the manipulator, Jack has one final request. A few drinks. Kind of amused and wanting to see what he's all about, the devil actually agrees, and they both go to the pub. So they go back to the bar, and Jack and the devil drink enough to kill an alcoholic elephant. But the night comes to an end, the bar's about to close, and it's time for them to pay their tab. Jack, not having any money, schemes up a plan with the devil. Drunk Jack convinces Satan to turn himself into a silver coin, pay the bartender, and when the bartender turns his back, he can just turn back into the devil, and then they both go to the fiery depths of hell. Maybe because Satan is amused by this deceit, or he's never heard of dining and dashing, he actually does it. Jack promptly picks up the coin and puts it in his pocket, right next to a crucifix, thus trapping the devil in his pocket. Satan is pissed, and Jack says, "I'll let you go if you promise not to come for me for another 10 years. Satan doesn't really have a choice, so he agrees. Honestly, take the L, Satan, you kinda got played on this one. So Jack lives another 10 years doing what he loves most. Drinking, gaslighting, terrorizing, rage baiting, and more drinking. But after 10 years, the devil comes back. And this time, Jack isn't playing any games, and he goes willingly with the devil. Then suddenly, they both hear Jack's stomach grumbling. Awkwardly, Jack turns to Satan and says, "Hey, I'm really hungry. Can you go grab me an apple really quick from that apple tree?" "No, but no." "Oh, come on, man. Like, I'm really hungry. I'm already going to hell. Do you really want to hear my stomach grumbling the whole way there?" So Satan agrees, and he climbs up the nearest apple tree to go fetch Jack an apple. As soon as he does this, Jack runs up and carves a crucifix into the apple tree, trapping the devil for a second time. At this point, Satan is livid, and he yells at Jack to let him go, but there's nothing really he can do about it. So for the second time, he makes a deal with Jack, and this time Jack says, "You're not coming for me ever. When I die, I'm not going to hell." Satan doesn't have any choice, so he agrees, and he's set free. But all men must die, and the drinking and being a general jerk catches up with Jack, and he actually dies. For real this time. And since he can't go to hell, he goes up to the pearly gates of St. Peter, he goes up to God and says, "What up, God? It's me, Jack." And God goes, "Are you dumb? You're going to hell, buddy." So Jack goes down to hell, goes up to Satan, and he goes, "What up, Big D? Can I come kick it with you here in hell?" "I'm sorry, buddy. I really wish you could, but we made that deal, remember? You can't stay in here. But here's this little flame to guide you through the eternal abyss and darkness that is purgatory." Okay? And ever since then, Jack's been stuck wandering the lands between with nothing but a flame to guide his way. So yeah, that's where the name Jack-o'-lantern comes from. It's an abbreviation of Jack of the Lantern. There's a more modern version of the story that I like a bit more. It fills some of the plot holes and it's a bit more violent. But first, why does the story exist in the first place? And this is where things get interesting. You see, the story of Stingy Jack goes back hundreds of years. Back before we had boring scientific explanations for seemingly fantastical occurrences. And the phenomenon that the story of Stingy Jack tried to explain was that of Ignis Fatuus, or more commonly known, Will o' the Wisp. Yeah, those things from Brave and Oblivion. You see, in real life, will-o'-wisps are explained as a cool flame resulting from the chemoluminescence of methane and phosphine gases released from decomposing organic matter in swamps. Yeah, you try explaining that to a 9th century peasant and they'll think you lost your mind. It's obviously Stingy Jack walking around with his lanterns at night. Duh! Anyways, to keep Jack away from their homes, villagers would make their own versions of Jack's lantern and put them on their windows. They would do so by carving out the inside of turnips and making faces in them. And before you think that's not scary, just look at this picture. Yeah, that would scare the crap out of anyone. But they didn't do it all year round though. Pagans would carve these grotesques only once a year at a festival called Samhain, which marked the end of the harvesting season and the beginning of the long winter months. It was said that on the night of this festival was the time where the worlds of the living and the worlds of the dead were at their closest. Hence why everyone was scared of spirits and Jack and stuff like that. Also, they would light this huge bonfire and drink copious amounts of alcohol, which might explain some of the sightings of spirits and stuff like that. But anyways, I don't want to get too off topic. Samhain is very interesting, but it deserves its own. Anyways, the Christians came in, they thought it was cool, so they wanted to keep it. So they moved All Saints Day to November 1st. They call it All Hallows Day. So the day before, with all the turnips, they call it All Hallows Eve. Hallows Eve, Halloween. So yeah, that's where Halloween comes from. It's basically just a pagan festival to celebrate and explain spirits and the dead and stuff like that. And Christians just slap their own name on it. Pretty cool, huh? So what about that second, more modern version of Jack's story? Well, it was actually printed in a penny dreadful in the 1850s, and it was rewritten by a guy called Hercules Ellis. We still have the original print, the text. So instead of me recounting the story in my subpar storytelling skills, let's just read it together. Shall we? The Romance of Jack-o'-lantern. Greater churl was never known on this earth than Stingy John. From his door the poor returned, unrelieved and cursed and spurned. One night Jack was homeward coming, midnight round his path was glooming. And he reached the river's side, someone near him moaned and cried. For the love of heaven, he said, mercy have and lend me aid. Wayworn traveler am I, leave me here and I shall die. Stingy Jack's hard heart was touched, quick the stranger he approached. Raised him up upon his mare, brought him home, and fed him there. Gray-haired wanderer down he lay, but before the break of day, to the bed of Jack he hies, winged like Seraph of the skies. Heavenly beauty graced his face, heavenly brightness filled the place. When Jack, starting up, had woke, thus the angel, smiling, spoke. Though called a churl by all around, mercy in your heart I found. Ask 3 gifts, I'll give them you, and my blessing add thereto. Greatly at all this Jack wondered, long what he should ask he pondered. Scratch he often in his shook head, then thus to the angel said, I wish whoever take my chair may be fastened firmly there, he to chair and chair to ground, till my leave to go be found. Next I pray, whatever fools meddle with my box of tools may be fastened to the wall, till to let him go I call. Thirdly, sir, I would implore that any who touch my sycamore may be fixed fast to the tree, till I choose to set him free. All of these boons I grant to you, and my blessing add thereto. Saying thus, the angel sighs, as from thence to heaven he flies. For when choice like this is given, as sooner ask not heaven, never more by deeds or prayer shall the spurner enter there. But although thus doomed to hell, stingy Jack on earth throve well. Large his flocks and strong his health, wide his lands and great his wealth. Now years have flown and youth is gone, and Jack's last day is come. And the devil sends a servant up to fetch the old man home. And at Jack's hall door the servant knocks and bids him come away. And Jack opens the door and asks him in, and says, "Sit down, I pray." In Jack's own scat the servant sits, and there he's fastened tight. Jack takes his flail, and without fail he flogs him left and right. And as he scored, the flunky roared, at length he firmly swore, that if set free from thence he'd flee, and never come back more. When thus he'd sworn, Jack set him free, and off he went with speed. But many a servant, besides him, the devil has at need. Next day another one was sent, and ordered without fail, that stingy Jack he should bring back, and also fetch his flail. The second servant now came in, with cautious steps and slow, and told Jack in his master's name, to hell be straight must go. Says Jack, this brogue I first must mend, barefoot I cannot crawl. So put your hands in yonder box, and hand me down my all. Within the box he poked his hand, and there is tightly held. Then Jack applied his famous flail, until the flunky yelled. He yelled and roared, while old Jack scored, until at first he swore. The second flunky swore to go, and trouble Jack no more. Now the devil came himself, since servants would not do. Though Mangerton he rose in flames, and ordered Jack to go. Said Jack, "My lord, I'm ready quite, but dead lame is old Jack. You must get me a good stout stick, or take me on your back." Then from the sycamore hard by, the devil seized the bough, and fastened tight and helpless quite, the devil is left now. Jack yelled with joy when the old boy he saw thus in his power, then hastened for his famous flail, and laid it down galore. So loudly howled the devil then, its roars were heard quite plain, in Germany, in Italy, and even in far Spain. Upon his back 3 flails broke Jack, and still he lathered on, nor did he stay his work that day until the setting sun. By his horns the devil swore that if Jack let him go, he'd never bring nor let Jack come within the realms below. When thus he'd sworn, with back well torn, Jack set the devil free, and from that day he stayed away from Jack and from his tree. At length Jack died, and when his soul was from his body riven, it could not go through hell's wide gates, nor yet through those of heaven. By his free choice he lost the last, and Satan did not fail his oath to keep, and Jack to sweep from the gates with his flail. Then, since Jack is unfit for heaven, and hell won't give him room, his ghost is forced to walk the earth until the day of doom. A lantern in his hand he bears, the way by night to show, and from its flame he's got the name of Jack-o'-lantern now. And there you go. That is the modernized version of Jack-o'-lantern's story. It's a pretty fun read, actually. Maybe you could read it to your kids or something. It's like a bedtime story, a Halloween bedtime story. I don't have any kids, so, but I would. Also, I like the little decals on the side of the page. Those were cool. They were fun to look at. And there you go. That's the whole video about jack-o'-lanterns and Halloween. We don't know where trick-or-treating came from. So there you go. You can like and subscribe if you want.